You know, there's a lot of stuff now about personal branding. This whole process and the tips I'm going to take you through are more, because it's one thing to define your value or your personal brand, and then it's another to know how to communicate that to others so that they get it.
What do you believe is really in the way that has people from promoting themselves like they could?
We learn very early that we shouldn't really brag, we shouldn't toot our horn, we should take the back seat, we should actually wait to be recognized. And this this becomes ingrained in our subconscious mind. And then when we go to talk about ourselves in a positive way, what happens is we get all this negative chatter in our head that says, well, wait a minute. You shouldn't say that about yourself. Nobody's going to like you, and people will reject you. So, I mean, we kind of fear rejection. We worry that people aren't going to like us. And so we go the other way, where we just don't talk about ourselves at all.
Can you share with us those 5 tips to promote yourself? I want to make sure that we get through all 5 on today's show.
Be strategic and intentional and focused about your career goals. So defining the goal is the first thing. And I think most of us understand, at least intellectually, how important it is to set a goal. Once you set that goal and you communicate that goal, you write it down and then you start to communicate it to others, it really becomes real. But most importantly, you start to think strategically about how you can achieve that goal. It's the most important part. It's the foundation of all self-promotion. Understanding your value, understanding what you bring to the table is the key.
So tip number 2, right, is about understanding that value proposition, and to your point, being able to both define it and then articulate it.
You can really control the way people think about you. And how do you really want them, what do you want them to say when you leave the room after a meeting? You can really control that. And that begins with you understanding what you bring to the table and then weaving that into conversation. If you really want to promote yourself and advance your career, you're going to figure out how that ties to the business results of the organization. So, for instance, how is your boss incentivized? How is your department incentivized? Is it, maybe it's on net revenue from client projects, say. Well, you could tie what you bring to the table, which is you're a great team builder, to that business goal, to that outcome. And you can say, because you're a team, as an example, because you're a great team builder, your teams are more productive, and therefore you get client projects done on time, if not early. You retain clients. You are able to do more client projects during the year. That translates to more net revenue. Therefore, your department will be more successful because of that strength, because of that value proposition that you bring.
Tip 4, this web of influence. Can you talk about what that means?
Building your web of influence is important within the work environment to help you promote yourself and advance your career. And what I mean by web of influence is the allies that you're going to enlist to help you reach your goal. So again, getting back to tip number 1, always being very focused and strategic. So who within the work environment do I need to put in my network? In some cases, you're not going to know them. You're going to need what's called...
All right? You're not going to know them yet.
You're not going to know them yet, but you know enough to identify them. Tip 5 is really to broaden your influence. I look at the web of influence more as an internal network. Although if your goal is to, say, find a position in another department or another company, it probably would go beyond your immediate work environment. But by broaden your influence, I mean you've got a network that you can develop through outside networking groups and also social media. We have so many friends on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and we don't know who they are and what they do. We don't take the time to actually go into their profiles and say, oh, that person works here and that's where I want to go. Let me try to meet them and connect with them in some way. So again, it's digging a little deeper and then connecting with them and letting them know what you bring to the table. I tell all my clients is to keep a success journal. A lot of us journal, we have gratitude journals, but a success journal really keeps you connected to all the positive things that you do. So at the end of the day, put an entry in your success journal about what happened today that you were really proud of or what really went well. And then at the end of the week or periodically review it and say, what does that say about me? And you create some positive affirmations. But that gets you to focus more on the good things and the success,
Right.
which then connect you to your value.